15. Ham. Jenna. It's been 3 days since Carter and I got into a fight and he started sleeping on the living room floor. It's been 2 days since he started painting Skip with Kate instead of me. It's been exactly 1 day since my hurt evaporated and turned into anger. Carter wants to be an ass and ignore me? 2 can play that game. There will be no more groveling or apologizing from me. If he wants to talk, he can come to me. I throw myself into my new routine. In the morning, I work out with Kate in the stairwell. The rest of the day, I keep myself busy by plundering kitchens and bedrooms in Creekside. I converted the burned dorm suite into a storage area, which is starting to resemble a small grocery store. After some cajoling and bribing with a pack of Oreos, Eric, Reed, and Johnny helped me clear 6 rooms and drag the bodies downstairs. Other than that, they have yet to lift a finger. Eric and Reed spend their days playing video games. I swear Eric's potbelly is getting larger every day. Johnny is glued to his ham radio. Lila is busy reading and making her concoctions. The only thing useful any of them has done is agree to wash dishes and take out the trash to keep the ants at bay. "Oh my God," Johnny says into the ham radio as I deposit my latest collection of food stores on the kitchen floor. "I can't believe you guys have a whole fucking fort. That is so cool, man." "A fort?" I pause, a case of Kraft macaroni and cheese in my arms, intrigued despite my grumpiness. Who has a fort? And are they talking about a blanket fort or some other type of fort? "There's an old Russian fort somewhere on the coast," Johnny replies. "This guy, Alvarez, is living there. His handle is Foot Soldier. Here, say hi." I drop the case of mac and cheese and take the ham from Johnny. "Hello?" A response crackles through the radio. "Hello? This is Foot Soldier. Over." "Tell him your name," Johnny prompts. "My name is Jenna. What's this I hear about a fort? Are there normal people out there who believe in surviving? If so, I want to meet them." Johnny elbows me. "Say over." "Over?" I add, feeling self-conscious. "I'm in a Russian fort built in the early 1800s, Foot Soldier replies. "It was preserved and converted into a state park. We have a windmill to mill grain, an orchard, and a space to garden. There's a big wall around the fort and a few old houses inside. We need more people to help run this place. I told Wandering Rider you guys should come here. Over." "Wandering Rider?" I ask. "It's my handle on the ham." Johnny grabs a map, spreading it out on the table. Grabbing the ham from me, he says, "Foot Soldier, this is Wandering Rider. What's the closest town to your location? Over." "Timber Cove. Seriously, you guys gotta come here. Over." While the idea of joining up with a bona fide survival group does sound good, I'm skeptical we could safely travel far. Johnny traces the coastline of California. He starts at the Oregon border and works his way down. My heart sinks as his finger drops lower and lower on the map. "Foot Soldier, did you say you're in Northern California?" "Over," Johnny says. "Yeah. Just look for Timber Cove. South of Mendocino. Over." Johnny's finger continues along the coast. Down, down, and down. "Fuck me." Johnny stares down at the map. Fort Ross might technically be on the north coast of California, but it's a long way from here. I lean over the map, taking in the tiny dot of Arcata and the long, long way between our tiny town and Johnny's finger. "That's gotta be a few 100 miles," I say. "Not only that, it looks like there's only one major highway near Fort Ross, and the only way to reach it is by backtracking through much of the territory Kate traveled to get here. Seeing how bad she was when she arrived doesn't make me think any of us could make it. Kate is tougher than all of us combined. "No go," Johnny says into the ham. "You're too far away, foot soldier. No way for us to get there. Over." "Damn," foot soldier replies. "Too bad. We could have used you guys. Over." I don't bother telling him he's better off without the dead-weight Creekside boys. Johnny and foot soldier continue to talk, exchanging survival stories. I listen as I return to organizing our stores. Foot soldier was in the military when all hell broke loose. His platoon was assigned to a roadblock. They were overrun. No one made it out except him. The guy traveled all the way to Fort Ross on foot. That's probably how he came up with his handle. At least the guy is being proactive. He's not wasting his days away playing video games and smoking joints or painting a van. The door opens. Carter and Kate enter, laughing over something. Carter's laugh fades as he spots me watching them. He looks away when our eyes meet. Frustration wells in my chest. Fuck him. Fuck all these idiots. I brush past Carter and Kate, grabbing my shoes, spear, and jacket. "Where are you going?" Kate asks. I don't look at her when I answer. "I'm going out to get some beer." "Beer?" Kate's brow creases. "Can't you just tap the kegs and skip?" I shake my head. "Carter is doing a double fermentation on them. They won't be ready for another few weeks." "That's a great idea," Reed says, looking up with bloodshot eyes. The guy is so stoned it's not even funny. "We should go to the depot." "That's my plan," I reply crisply. So what if none of us has ventured beyond the parking lot since the outbreak? We have to cross the threshold of our little bubble eventually. Might as well be right now. I can't think of a better reason than beer. "There are solar panels at the depot," Eric says. "I've been wanting to check them out." He glances at Kate. "You asked about a washing machine. I think those panels might be large enough to power one. If I can get one of them off the roof, maybe I can get a washing machine running." Reed pops one of Eric's brownies into his mouth. "I am so high right now." "You guys aren't going anywhere," Carter declares. "You two," he points a finger at Reed and Eric, "are stoned." "I'm only a little stoned," Eric says. "You," Carter points a finger at me, "can't go out by yourself. It's not safe." Anger hits me like a brick. Carter ignores me for 3 days, then has the nerve to think he can tell me what I can and can't do. I can't stay here. I have to move, have to do something. The dorm is too small, too confining, too close to Carter. I have to get away from him and his stupidly handsome face. "Fuck it," I say to Reed and Eric. "Let's go get solar panels and beer. I want to be drunk, and I want to wash my clothes." "Now you're talking." Eric grins, rising to his feet. "Reed," I say, "you can only come if you promise not to attract the attention of psychotic drug mules." Reed waves a hand, drifting toward the sofa. "I think Carter is right. I'm too stoned to go on a beer run. I'm taking a nap." He falls onto the cushions, eyes closing before his head hits the pillows. "I'll go," Johnny says. "I can write about this." Kate looks at me. When our eyes meet, I feel exposed. She knows exactly why I'm acting out like a toddler. She must think I'm an idiot. She probably thinks I'm not good enough for Carter. "I'll go with you guys." Carter grabs a spear. He gives me a look, daring me to argue with him. "I'm going," he says to me. "Do whatever you want." I stalk past him and out the door. 16. The depot. Jenna. We walk in a tight cluster along the northern edge of the campus. The school is eerily quiet, not filled with the normal hum of human activity like it used to be.
"I'm going to pretend it's summer session out here, and everyone has gone home for a few months,"
Johnny whispers.
"Good idea,"
I reply. It would be easier to do if there weren't so many dead bodies everywhere. We head deeper into campus toward the depot. It's one of the few buffet dining options at the university. It's the only one that served beer. We pass more bodies than I can count. Most bear signs of gunshot wounds to the head. The soldiers definitely did a number on Humboldt State University.
"Is that people over there? Or am I just stoned?"
Eric points off to our left. I squint in the direction Eric points. The sun is halfway concealed by the horizon, casting long shadows and dim light. At first, all I see are trees and bushes and looming buildings. Then I see what Eric sees. Just outside the glass window of the depot is a group of 3 people. It's clear from the way they move that they're human, not zombie. "People!" I hiss, pointing. Carter grabs me, pulling me toward the ground. I yank free and give him a dirty look, but stay down. Eric and Johnny crouch beside us. There isn't anything to hide behind, but hunkering down seems smarter than standing up where we can be seen. Assuming we haven't already been seen.
"Maybe it's other students," I whisper. "Maybe we should say hi to them." "Are you kidding?" Johnny says. "Have you ever seen a horror movie? We're living out a classic scene right now. This is the part where trusting people call out in greeting, only to find out the other guys are psychos who collect eyeballs."
Just because 3 other people survived hell doesn't make them eyeball-collecting psychos, I argue. We should see who they are.
"Too late now," Eric says. "They're gone."
The 4 of us squint through the growing darkness. I study the spot where I saw the figures. Sure enough, whoever had been there is gone. Let's just get to the depot. I don't even really want beer anymore, but my pride won't let me back out. This was, after all, my idea. The courtyard of the depot looks like a killing ground. There are bodies and dried blood everywhere. I gag as we enter the courtyard. Johnny and Eric cover their mouths, trying to block out the smell. I force myself to take in the carnage. The dead people here are all my age. I could have easily been one of them. Their lives are over. By some stroke of luck, maybe a few strokes of luck, I'm still alive.
"You okay?"
Carter puts a hand on my shoulder. I shake him off. He doesn't get to be nice to me only when it suits him. I sure as hell don't need his concern.
"What?"
Johnny raises a shaking hand. "What is that?" I follow the line of his finger, past the bodies, past the blood, all the way to... Oh! My eyes lock on the gruesome sight. A soldier is staked to a tree. Long knives have been driven through the flesh right below his shoulders, holding him in place. Around his neck are red abrasions, making me think he may have been strangled to death before he was strung up.
"Who would do that?"
I whisper. Cold sweat beads along my spine.
"Sickos."
Carter stands too close to me, his stance protective. I can't stand it. It makes me hurt all over. Clenching my fists, I move into the courtyard and away from Carter.
"A writer can't hide from reality,"
Johnny murmurs, brandishing his chair leg.
"Although I have to admit, I've never been on a high-stakes beer run before."
I draw my own chair leg. Will this make it into your book?
"Depends on what happens when we get inside,"
Johnny replies.
"There's the implication of danger. That means there's a good chance something scary or bad will happen, which makes for good storytelling. There's also the possibility we'll go inside and nothing at all will happen, which means there's no scene, just a setting with dead bodies where nothing happens. I vote for the scene with dead bodies where nothing happens, I say.
You guys go ahead, Eric says. Me and Carter will stay out here and keep watch.
I'm not staying out here, Carter says.
You have to,
Eric replies.
That way I'll have an excuse to stay with you. If you go inside, I'll look like a pussy out here.
Let's quit arguing and just go, I say. Standing around out here in the growing darkness is creeping me out. We move through the courtyard, edging around bodies and avoiding pools of coagulated blood as best we can. Johnny curses when he accidentally steps in a small patch and almost trips.
That's definitely going into my book, he grumbles.
Do you have a title for your book? I ask.
Voices of the Apocalypse,
Johnny replies.
Subtitle, First Days. I already have 50 pages just from the interviews I've done with people over the ham, not to mention our own story of surviving the military attack.
The front of the depot is floor-to-ceiling glass. Several windows have been smashed. Glass crunches underfoot as we near the building. When I glance down, I see it's not just window shards underfoot. Cylindrical tubes of brass roll beneath my shoes. Discarded bullet casings. How many students were murdered by the military? Still in a tight cluster, we pause outside and peer into the gloom. More dead bodies are inside. I count at least half a dozen killed by headshots. Nothing moves. Just to be sure, I take my chair leg and tap it against the ground a few times. An answering growl comes from inside the depot. A second growl follows hard on the heels of the first. This was all a bad idea. It seemed reasonable back in the dorm when I was angry and upset. I really don't need a beer. Or my pride. Both are overrated. Carter taps the spear a second time. Once again, 2 growls answer.
There's only 2 of them,
he whispers.
Both came from over there.
He points to the buffet, where spoiled food sits. It sends up a rancid smell, though it's not nearly as bad as the smell from the rotting bodies. The beer kegs are over there. I point to the other side of the depot.
Let's get a keg and get the hell out of here,
Carter says.
What about the solar panels?
Eric points to the roof where half a dozen panels sit. The only way up there is with a ladder or through a second-story window. We can come back for them another time, I say, preferably in full daylight. Besides, getting a panel will be an all-day excursion by the time we figure out how to get onto the roof, dismantle the panel, and get it back to the dorm.
Cool. I don't mind wearing the same clothes every day,
Eric says.
Hell, it's pretty much every nerd's dream not to have to worry about clothes.
Let's just get the beer and get out of here, Johnny says. No one argues. We inch inside, our feet crunching on the debris. Carter creeps in my direction, drawing closer with every step. He keeps flicking glances my way, too. I don't know what his deal is. I make it a point to edge away from him. He doesn't get to ignore me, then play my protector. The growls increase in intensity from the buffet area.
Maybe we should check it out and get rid of whoever is over there,
Johnny whispers.
Put them out of their misery.
No, I reply. In and out with the keg. That's it. I hold my spear in front of me like a bat, eyes flicking to the left and right. The beer counter is a half-moon of wood with 3 taps. I peer behind the bar. A crumpled body lies there. I prod it with my spear to make sure it's dead. It doesn't move. Carter slides in and detaches the first of the kegs. The fact that they're still here is a sign of just how deserted the campus is.
How are we going to tap into them when we get back to the dorm?
Eric asks.
We'll have to take one of the tap handles, Carter replies. Here, I brought my mom's screwdriver.
He passes it to me. I decide not to read anything into his action. I just happened to be standing closest to him when he pulled out the screwdriver. Within a few minutes, we have a keg and the tap handle in our possession. Carter removes the second keg. The fading light illuminates his profile. For a moment, I let myself imagine things are good between us. I imagine we're not surrounded by dead bodies in a shot-up college cafeteria. Instead, we're at a trailhead somewhere, selling our beer to racers after they cross the finish line. For just a few seconds, I let myself be transported to another time, another place. I miss Carter so much I ache.
Boo!
The unexpected voice rings out like a gong. "17. Neighbors. Jenna." The shout sends me into a crouch. In my surprise, I drop the tap handle. It hits the ground with a loud clunk. Eric and Johnny drop to all fours and crawl behind the bar with me and Carter. We fill in around the dead body, trying to hide and avoid the corpse at the same time. Carter is mashed up against me, the smooth skin of his shaven cheek wedged against my elbow.
Who was that?
Eric hisses. "I was hoping it was one of you guys," I whisper back, even though I know they wouldn't be hiding behind the bar if that was the case.
If it wasn't us, and it wasn't you guys, then who was it?
Johnny's whisper is thin. "Probably just some jackasses who survived the outbreak," I say in a soft voice. "Maybe it's those people we saw earlier."
They're messing with us.
To my horror, Eric raises his voice loud enough to carry.
You got us, assholes. You scared us. Now come out.
Silence. We wait. Somewhere outside is the squeal of a bat. Then the growls of the buffet zombies roll through the room. I decide Eric is right. Someone is messing with us. "Hello?" I call. Only the snarling zombies answer us. Unease drips across my shoulders, followed by an urge to get the hell out of the depot as fast as we can. Palms sweaty around my spear, I creep around the edge of the bar and peer out into the common room. It's darker than ever and difficult to see. In the gloom, nothing moves. The growls of the buffet zombies still roll across the tile, but there's no visible sign of them. "It's clear," I call back in a low voice. "Come on." Eric and Johnny each heft one of the kegs. They're 5-gallon kegs, a smaller format preferred by many of the local microbrews. I jam the tap handle through my belt. The four of us scurry across the commons, Carter and I in the lead. As we near the exit, a figure rises from behind one of the buffets.
Howdy, neighbors.
To my dismay, I let out a girlish squeal and jump at least 12 feet into the air. Reed drops one of the kegs. It rings against the tile floor with a reverberating bang. Carter jumps in front of me. The figure doubles over, laughing. It's a boy, a student in his university sweatshirt. 2 other figures join him. It's 3 boys, all of them in baggy sweatshirts and jeans. All of them laughing at us.
You should see the look on your faces,
says one boy, pointing a finger at us. They practically fall over one another in their hilarity. "Assholes," I growl. "Let's get the hell out of here."
Wait,
says the first boy.
Just hold up a sec.
He looks me up and down, scanning me in a way that makes me want to scream. Even in an apocalypse, guys are all the same. I cross my arms over my breasts, blocking them from his view, and scowl at him. If he notices my hostility, he covers it with a grin.
Look, We were just messing around."
"Yeah, we were just messing with you," says the second boy.
"We're survivors from College Creek,"
says the third boy.
"We were out gathering supplies when we saw you." "College Creek,"
Carter says.
"We heard that place was overrun."
That sobers the boys.
"It was,"
says the first one.
"A few of us survived after the military took down the zombies."
"How many of you are there?" I ask.
16 of us back in the dorm."
16. More than twice our number.
"Do you have a good setup?"
Eric asks. The lead boy shrugs, eyes flicking toward me.
"It's okay." "What dorm are you guys in?"
"Pepperwood," Johnny says, flashing all of us a look. I don't correct him, glad for the lie. "We have 2 kegs of beer. Do you guys want one?"
"Really?"
The second boy takes a few steps in our direction.
"Sure,"
Johnny says, giving us all that look again. I'm not sure what he's trying to tell us, but we go along anyway. Maybe relinquishing one of our kegs will dispel the uncomfortable tension in the air. Johnny takes a few steps forward and deposits his keg in front of the College Creek boys. "I'm Johnny. My friends are Carter, Eric, and Jenna. Who are you guys?"
"I'm Ryan,"
says the lead boy.
"My friends are Henry and Adam."
"Nice to meet you," Johnny says. "Maybe we'll see you guys around sometime."
"Maybe we'll come to visit,"
Ryan says. God, I hope not.
"Cool. See you around."
Johnny waves a non-committal hand before hustling us all for the exit. Right before we pass through the shattered windows, I spot the buffet zombies. Carter sees them at the same time.
"What the?"
Their legs have been hacked off, leaving nothing but bloody stumps protruding from their hips. Their arms have been cut off just below the shoulder. The discarded limbs are scattered between the salad bar and drink station. Johnny and Eric, now holding the keg between them, crash into us. They curse before catching sight of our faces.
"Holy shit!"
Eric's voice is thin and high-pitched.
"Did you guys do that?"
he asks Ryan and the others.
"What? That?"
Ryan points to the writhing undead, who are no more than 3 feet away from his shoes. He shrugs.
"Just messing around, that's all. Not like they can feel it."
"They're nasty enough when they're in one piece,"
Johnny says. My feet feel like lead. I'm glad Johnny didn't tell these fuckers where we really live. I've dispatched my fair share of zombies, but not like this. Their dismemberment is a mockery and disrespect to the people they once were. Mouth dry, I advance on the struggling things.
"Jenna, no."
Carter lays a hand on my arm. I ignore him, licking my lips. I recognize one of the creatures. Reggie. He lived in a neighboring dorm. We took statistics together. He was a nice guy. He didn't deserve what happened to him. I pass the College Creek boys, untouched by their amused disdain. Carter is by my side. For the first time today, I'm grateful for his presence. He's like a shield between me and the College Creek guys. I stop in front of Reggie's wriggling body, the smell of rotting food and rotting bodies washing over me. I slam the sharpened end of my chair leg through his skull. Reggie shudders, then goes still. I administer the same mercy to the second creature, a girl with a pixie cut who had been cute and petite when she'd been alive. My spear punches through her skull, the impact of the crumpling bone traveling all the way up my arm. I like to make sure they're really dead, I say to Ryan and his friends, just in case. See you guys around. When I rejoin Carter and the others, no one says a word. We hurry into the night with our beer keg. "18. Good night. Jenna." By the time we get back to the dorm, the last thing I want is a beer.
"Now that was straight out of a horror movie script,"
Johnny announces as soon as we are inside.
"We need to steer wide of those guys."
"What guys?" Reed sits up on the couch. His eyes are no longer bloodshot.
"I can't believe you guys left so close to dusk," Lila says. "That was stupid."
"What happened?" Kate asks.
"Are you guys okay?"
I deposit the keg handle on the table and leave the others to relate the tale. All I want to do is shower and go to bed. Since there's no hot water and heating up water on the barbecue is tedious, bed is the only option left for me.
"Jenna?"
My hand freezes on the door handle. I turn as Carter enters the hallway after me. My heart swells at the sight of him. I want so badly to bury myself in his arms, but I force myself to stand tall. His blue eyes pin me in place as he approaches.
"What?"
I ask, voice raspy with fatigue. He stops a foot away, so close I could reach out and touch him. I don't.
"I just wanted to say..."
He pauses to swallow, dropping his eyes.
"I just wanted to say you did a good thing at the depot today. Killing those maimed students."
His words warm me, but it hurts seeing him hold back from me. It was the right thing to do. Those College Creek guys are sickos.
"Yeah."
He stands there, hands shoved in the pockets of his jeans, not quite meeting my eye. Out in the sitting room, Johnny gives a loud, dramatic blow-by-blow of the encounter with the College Creek students. "Carter?" I struggle to form words. He doesn't respond, but he doesn't leave either. His blue eyes are guarded as he looks at me. There are so many things I want to say. I've worked on at least half a dozen long-winded speeches in my head the last few days. Now that I'm finally face-to-face with him, now that he isn't giving me the cold shoulder or telling me to go away or straight up being a jerk, they all fly out of my head. "Carter, I wanted to say you look great. With your new look, I mean. I like it."
"Do you think your mom would like it?"
I flinch, but I don't back down from the challenge. "I deserve that." I swallow, searching for more words. "Do you remember the night when we met? At the Creekside dorm party?"
"Of course."
"I never told you this, but I'd had a crush on you for a while. I wanted to meet you. I made it a point to bump into you at that party."
"What do you mean?"
he asks with a frown. "I saw you the first day we all moved into the dorms at the beginning of the year. Do you remember when that girl dropped her mirror and cut open her hand?"
"Mary. Yeah, I remember."
"You took off your t-shirt and wrapped her hand to stop the bleeding." He shifts, frown deepening.
"I had on an undershirt. I wasn't trying to show off or anything."
"You don't get it. It wasn't about you taking off your shirt. It was about you taking off your shirt to help a girl with a cut hand. All I could think was that I wanted a guy who would give me his clothing if I was hurt and bleeding." I chew my bottom lip. "It wasn't about how you looked. It wasn't about getting back at my mom. It was about you. Beard or no beard, short hair or long, you're still the guy who gave away his shirt to help a bleeding stranger. I love you," I want to say, but the words won't come out. They seem all wrong. They're not the sort of thing you say to someone you've hurt.
"You never told me that."
Carter's eyes are wide in the darkness. "I know." I give him a sad smile. "I'm sorry. I should have." He hesitates, then reaches out and draws me close. I fall into his arms, burying my nose in the crook of his neck. I inhale deeply. I pull his scent into my lungs, drawing comfort from it. He kisses the top of my head and releases me. I watch him, desperate for more, but all he says is,
"Good night, Jenna."
The smile he gives me is the first one I've had since our fight. And even though he turns and walks away, I'm left feeling lighthearted. 19. Reunion. Kate.
I wasn't happy when the kids left on their beer run.
However, since it was the first thing they had done that resembled a supply run, I didn't try to stop them. As Johnny wraps up the details of the College Creek encounter, I vow to go with them next time. Reed taps the keg, and Eric rounds everyone up for God of War. I watch the entrance to the hallway where Carter and Jenna disappeared, silently praying they'll make up. When Carter emerges a few minutes later, eyes brighter than they've been in days, I inwardly cheer. I wait a few more minutes, hoping Jenna will show. When it becomes apparent she isn't coming, I sigh. Maybe things are going in the right direction, but they haven't completely made up yet. I retreat to the kitchen to find dinner. I select a can of baked beans and join Johnny at the kitchen table, clearing myself a small spot between his notebooks, radio, and maps.
"I'm glad you all made it back safely,"
I say to Johnny, cracking open my can. I could warm up the beans, but it doesn't seem worth the effort. Besides, room temperature isn't all that bad.
"I've got good material for my piece on the fall of Humboldt University."
Johnny extracts a notebook out of the stack, scratching a sideburn with his pen cap.
"The run-in with the creeps makes for a good story."
"How long have you been writing?" I ask.
"Ever since junior high when I joined the school newspaper," Johnny says. "I never wanted to go to college. I wanted to travel the world, meet people, and write about them. Mom and Dad freaked out when I told them my plan. They said that if I agreed to go to college and get my degree, they would sponsor a 1-year trip around the world when I graduated."
"Sounds like a pretty good deal," I say around a mouthful of beans.
"I thought so."
Johnny fills 2 cups with beer from the keg, passing one to me.
"That's when I got my idea to interview people around the world using a high-frequency ham radio. I put an antenna up on the dorm roof at the beginning of the semester when I first moved in. Did you know that if you lock into the right receivers, you can talk to people on the other side of the globe? It was sort of like traveling. Before all this zombie shit happened, I was interviewing 2 ladies from Manhattan. They sold all their possessions and moved to Thailand to run an elephant sanctuary. I probably know more about elephant breeding habits than most people. Did you know the average elephant is pregnant for 22 months, and that baby elephants are blind when they're born?" I shake my head, guzzling down half my beer. It's warm, but still tastes delicious. "Anyway," Johnny continues, "that book is called Voices from Around the World. The subtitle is Why Are We Here? The premise is that I ask each person what led them to being where they are today."
"So what led the 2 women to sell all their belongings to open an elephant sanctuary?"
"One was a lifelong vegan who ran a successful bakery in Manhattan. She felt like she needed to give back to the world in a big way. Her partner was a corporate lawyer who got sick of all the greed. She wanted to find work that was rewarding for her soul rather than her pocketbook."
Up until this point, I hadn't realized how interesting Johnny was, or what part the ham radio played in his life. "You said you're compiling a story about the fall of Humboldt," I say. "What's that one about?"
"It's going into my collection entitled Voices of the Apocalypse," Johnny replies. "Subtitle, First Days. I've been writing down all that's happened to us, but I also have 8 interviews from other people so far. 5 in the U.S., 2 in Canada, and 1 in Germany."
I still. His words sinking into my chest. You're interviewing people in other countries? He nods. My mouth goes dry. I had assumed the world, or at least my world, was changed forever. In my head, I saw wasted American cities cluttered with the undead. What I had not considered were other countries.
You okay, Kate?
With any countries besides Canada or Germany? I ask.
Sweden and India, but no official interviews so far.
The scope of the outbreak spreads in my mind. I glance up as Reed lets out a whoop in front of the Xbox. Have you mentioned this to anyone here? I ask.
I don't know. Maybe.
Even with this information, Johnny hasn't stepped into the new world. He's so consumed with his project that he's let important details, like the gathering of food and water, slide. Johnny rifles through the maps on the table, pulling out one of Europe marked with red dots.
These are the places where I made contact with people.
I sort through the maps, noting red dots in the towns and countries where Johnny interviewed survivors. What are people saying? I ask. Is it as bad in other places as it is here?
Yeah. As far as I can tell, it started here in the U.S. in Portland. At the port, to be exact. But there were attacks in other ports around the country not long after. Same thing in Europe.
What about other continents? South America? Africa?
I haven't talked to anyone in those parts of the world, but some of my contacts have mentioned outbreaks in those places. I think there's a chance it's worldwide.
Johnny. I search his face. You, more than anyone else here, knows we're at the beginning of a new world. Why are you spending your days with your notebooks and ham radio when we need to be stockpiling food? He shuffles through the maps, not meeting my eye.
I'm a writer. That's it. I can talk to people and record their stories.
His voice drops.
I don't know how to do anything else.
But you can find out. I point to his radio.
What?
I slam my palm against the tabletop in my excitement, which makes him jump.
Johnny!
You're collecting survival stories. Don't you see how important that is? You have first-hand information on how other people are surviving the apocalypse.
Oh!
He blinks, scratching at his sideburns.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
I need you to keep talking to people. Keep interviewing. Start asking people for survival tips. Make a list. Write down every little tip and piece of advice you can glean, even if it doesn't seem important. Johnny perks up.
A survival guide.
I can tell he's deep in thought as his eyes unfocus.
A post-apocalypse survival guide. Nah, too generic. That sounds like something that could have been written before the shit hit the fan.
It takes me a moment to realize he's formulating another book title. Zombie Survival Tips from the Living? I suggest.
Too clunky.
He chews his bottom lip.
How about How to Survive? Tips from survivors of the zombie apocalypse. No, that uses survive twice.
How to persevere? How to carry on? How to tough it out? I chuckle at that last one. I could write a book on how to tough it out, though I'm sure no one would read it. Johnny laughs too, a smile creasing his pensive face.
How to survive and thrive?
How to thrive?
How to thrive in the apocalypse.
Johnny seizes a new notebook and scribbles out the title.
Yes, that's it. I love the word thrive. It's more than just surviving. Surviving can mean hiding out in the latrine and drinking your own piss to stay alive. I don't want to write about that. I want to help people do more than just survive. I want to write about thriving.
We want to thrive. I agree. After a beat, I add, I have your first tip on how to thrive.
What is it?
Johnny leans forward, pen poised over the pale blue lines of his notebook. How to thrive, rule number 1, I say. Even if the world has ended, don't steal from drug dealers. This inspires a peal of laughter so loud the commotion around the Xbox lulls.
What are you guys laughing about?
Reed asks.
Kate and I are just making a list of ways to thrive in the apocalypse,
Johnny replies.
Cool,
Eric says before his attention shifts back to God of War. Johnny hunches over his notebook, writing as fast as he can.
Number 2, avoid everyone in a uniform.
I disagree, I say. Not all soldiers murder college kids. I met a young soldier on the way here. He helped me bury my friend's daughter. His name was Alvarez. Guy had a good heart. I take another long pull off the beer, remembering that nightmare of a day. I'd probably still be digging Alicia's grave if Alvarez hadn't been there to help. Hand-dug graves always look like neat rectangles in the movies. In reality, you're lucky to get a lopsided hole wide enough to hold a corpse in the fetal position. Johnny stops scribbling and looks up at me.
Wait, what did you say the name of that guy was?
What guy?
The guy who helped you bury your friend.
Alvarez.
Alvarez.
Johnny grabs the ham.
I've been talking to a guy named Foot Soldier. He's living in an old Russian fort on the coast.
Fort Ross? I ask.
Yeah. You know it?
Yeah, I've been there. Carter had a field trip there when he was a kid. I was one of the chaperones. Johnny's eyes light up.
Foot Soldier says it is a big-ass fort with a 20-foot wall all the way around it.
Sounds like Fort Ross. That wouldn't be a bad place to weather the apocalypse. Too bad it's so far away from here.
The point is, this guy's real name isn't Foot Soldier. That's just his handle. His real name is Alvarez. What if it's the same guy?
You mean what if this Alvarez is the same Alvarez I met?
Yeah.
Johnny adjusts the dial on the ham, then leans forward to speak into it.
Foot Soldier, this is Wandering Writer. Are you there? Over.
Seems unlikely, but I don't have it in me to burst Johnny's excitement. The young man I met in Laytonville was as green as they come. He was also on foot. The chance that he made it all the way to Fort Ross is slim to none. The ham crackles in Johnny's hand.
This is Foot Soldier. How's it going in your neck of the woods? Over?
Johnny oozes excitement.
Hey, Foot Soldier, I have a friend here. Her name is Kate. We think you guys might know each other. Did you by chance help a woman bury someone on your way to Fort Ross? Over.
Holy shit,
comes the response.
Yeah, I did. Are those crazy runners with you?
"20. Map. Kate. My jaw falls open. I snatch the ham away from Johnny. Alvarez, is that really you? Tears of emotion fill my eyes. This is Kate.
Say over,
Johnny whispers. Over, I say.
Holy fucking shit,
comes the response. Even through the static, I hear the emotion in Alvarez's voice.
Damn, woman. I've thought about you and Frederico every day since I left you. Meeting you guys saved my life. Every time things got hard, I told myself, Alvarez, if those two old fools can run 200 miles on foot, so can you. I can't believe you guys made it. Over.
Frederico didn't make it. My throat constricts. I blink to keep tears from spilling. Over.
Shit. I'm sorry to hear that. He was a tough old bastard. I could tell that much. Over.
I nod, then realize he can't see me. I know, I croak. He was a good friend.
How did you get to Fort Ross? Over.
Long story. The short version is that I met up with some people along the way. A few of them were going to the fort and let me tag along. Are you safe? Over.
As safe as can be expected. Over.
I wish you could come here. We need good people to get this place up and running. Over.
I sigh, my eyes traveling over the maps. Fort Ross is probably a solid 200 miles from here. Too far, I say, but I'm glad you're safe and alive.
How's your arm? Over.
I glance down at the atrocity on my arm that is the stitches from Alvarez. It's healing. Johnny takes the ham from me.
Foot soldier, this is Wandering Rider, he says. Are you the one who gave Kate those stitches?
Yeah, that was me.
Dude, those stitches make her look like the Bride of Frankenstein. Did you sew those with a blindfold?
Alvarez bursts out laughing. Johnny grins at me to show he's joking. I roll my eyes, glancing down at the jagged black thread marring my arm. The stitches should be ready to come out soon. And Johnny isn't far off from his Frankenstein comparison.
I'm putting together a Thrive list,
Johnny continues, speaking into the ham. I tune him out as he rattles off the idea for his book. My eyes stray to all the maps Johnny has compiled. Another cheer goes up from around the Xbox. Alvarez has a group of survivors. He and Johnny are talking about farming, raising cattle, and fishing. My survivors are playing video games. They all need a dropkick into the present. And I think I finally have a way to do it. I gather up Johnny's maps. The walls of the sitting room are covered with a mishmash of posters and flyers, most of which pertain to music, bands, and ironic slogans. I pull out the thumbtacks, replacing the posters with maps from around the world.
Mom, what are you doing?
Carter, taking a break from God of War, glances at me from his seat on the floor. Johnny has been talking to people around the world, I reply. Apocalypse survivors. All the red dots indicate towns where he's spoken to people. 1 second, all eyes are glued to God of War. The next second, a hush falls on the Xbox enthusiasts. Johnny, having switched off the ham, is also silent. Every head stares at the maps on the walls. I move to the side, letting them take in the breadth of the global epidemic.
Dude,
Eric breathes, breaking the silence.
There are dots in other countries,
Carter says dumbly. He looks like someone delivered a wicked left hook to his brain. Emotion ripples across his face. It makes a part of me break inside. Instead of the 20-year-old man before me, I see the little 4-year-old who fell off his bike. More than anything, I wish I had a Band-Aid to cover his wound like I did when he was 4. The outbreak isn't isolated to the American Northwest. I raise my voice, pitching it loud enough to fill the room. They need to hear me. They need to see the maps. It's worldwide. Johnny rises, crossing to point to a city in England.
Robert the butcher. Single dad, widowed, 3 kids. He was butchering a pig when riots started outside his shop. When a man with a missing throat ran in and attacked him, Robert fought him off. It wasn't until his cleaver went into the man's head did it dawn on him that he was dealing with a zombie. He closed the shop and rushed to get his kids from school.
Johnny's voice drops.
He was able to get the 2 smallest. The older one, who was at a different school, never made it home. Robert hopes he's still alive. He and his 2 youngest kids are back in the butcher shop. He boarded up all the windows. He and his kids are aging and drying the meats. They have enough to survive for a few months.
Johnny moves to another red dot, this one a port town in Texas.
Pamela Winchester, a manager of Target who moonlights as an amateur marksman. She's got a thing for guns. When people started eating each other inside the store, she went straight home to her guns. She's teamed up with a group of other amateur marksmen. They're holed up in an apartment complex on tight rations. Pamela isn't sure what they're going to do when they run out of food, but she's ready to start shooting anything that doesn't look alive.
God of War is completely forgotten. All eyes are riveted on Johnny. I study the group of young men and women before me. There's Lila, who looks like she wants to hide in a closet and never come out. Reed and Eric grip the Xbox controllers like they're lifelines. Even Johnny, with all the information he's gathered, looks like he prefers denial to reality. My son looks like he's been run over with a freight train. I wish Jenna was here to embrace the moment with me. I push on, determined to make them see. You can't spend your days in front of the Xbox anymore. The food will run out. The water will run out. Something else could happen and we might need to leave. No one is going to come rescue us. We either take care of ourselves or we die.
What are we supposed to do?
Eric asks. This is my chance. Eric has given me an opening. I don't intend to waste it. Tomorrow, we go to Trading Post. That's the outdoor shop in downtown Arcata. We stock up on survival gear. We make sure we each have a bug-out bag in case things go to shit and we have to make a run for it. After that, we scavenge. Every day. We clear every room in this building and gather supplies. We get solar panels and hook up the washing machine. We fortify the downstairs lounge. We figure out how to plant a garden. We make Creekside our home. A real home. And we always have a contingency plan in place. There it is. My 60-second soapbox speech. I scan their faces, trying to gauge the impact of my words. Carter lets out a long, slow exhale.
I'm in, Mom.
Me too, Johnny says.
I'll help, but I'm not going outside,
Lila says.
I've been working out how to set up the solar panel,
Eric says.
Count me in. So long as I can get high at the end of the day, I'm in too,
Reed says. Eric smacks him.
Dude!
What? Reed says. Chuckles ripple through the room. For the first time since arriving here, I feel a sense of hope. 21. Surrounded. Kate. As I look at my tired face in the mirror, something occurs to me. I'm healthy. I'm almost recovered from my 200-mile run. I have a few achy twinges here and there, and the poison oak is still hanging out, but overall my body feels good. The swelling in my ankle is almost gone. I can lace on a shoe without discomfort. Even better, I'm not showing any signs of a waterborne illness. I'd been forced to drink unfiltered water on my way here, a risky move at best. I may have hair badly in need of a cut and color, and I could benefit from an extra 10 pounds, but in light of how bad things could be, I find it hard to care about my physical appearance. I exit the bathroom and head into the living room. Everyone has gathered there, eager for the expedition to Trading Post. The exception is Lila. She still refuses to leave Creekside.
This is going to be epic,
Reed is saying as I enter the room.
It's my childhood fantasy to walk into a store and take whatever I want without paying for it.
Your childhood fantasy is stealing, I ask. He shrugs, unapologetic.
I grew up in the Oakland hood. Stealing is practically in my DNA. except that my dad would have whooped my ass if he ever caught me."
That gets a few soft chuckles.
"You should come,"
Jenna says to Lila.
"What if more of those drug mules show up, or those College Creek guys? You have a bigger chance of running into them out there than I do in here,"
Lila replies.
"I'll stay back,"
Eric says casually, flipping through his collection of video games.
"I don't need a babysitter,"
Lila says. Eric rolls his eyes.
"Who says this is about you? I want the Xbox to myself for a few hours."
The others groan. But I see the way Eric looks at Lila. They might argue and bicker, but under the surface I suspect Eric likes Lila. He has a lame way of showing it, usually goading her into an argument.
"No way,"
Jenna says.
"You guys have to pull your weight if you stay behind." "What do you want us to do?"
Lila asks cautiously.
"Go through the cleared dorm rooms and find all the toilet paper, Kleenex, and paper towels,"
Jenna says.
"Find all the cleaning supplies and first aid supplies. Make an inventory and find a logical place to store it in room 204. That's our supply room."
Lila's mouth is set in a thin, scared line, but Eric shrugs and says,
"Okay, we can do that."
"You gather the stuff," Lila says. "I'll organize it and write up the inventory."
Should I be worried that Lila is so uncomfortable leaving the apartment? It's a problem to be chewed on another time. 20 minutes later, Carter, Jenna, Reed, Johnny, and I are all astride bikes. 3 of them came from the cleared dorm rooms. The other 2 were liberated from the rack outside the dorm. Reed was surprisingly savvy when it came to opening the U-lock bike locks. A simple ballpoint pen was all it had taken to jimmy them open.
"It's amazing what you can learn on YouTube,"
he told me with a proud grin. The 5 of us now pedal our way down Granite Avenue. I'd prefer to be on foot. It's quieter. And to be honest, I'm more comfortable on foot than on a bike. But the others aren't in the necessary shape to make a journey of several miles on foot, so I agreed to the bikes. At least they'd been smart enough to know we couldn't use a car. The silence of the road is broken only by the squawk of birds and the buzz of flies congregated on the dead bodies. I scan the blank-faced buildings. My shoulder blades itch like I'm being watched. But there's no telling if that's my paranoia or my instinct talking. The smell is worse than ever. We have handkerchiefs over our mouths and noses, but flimsy pieces of fabric aren't enough to combat the stink of the rotting dead, which are fully encrusted with black flies and carrion birds. We're going to have to figure out a way to deal with the bodies sooner or later. Living around the smell and rot is not a good thing. I make a mental note to keep an eye out for a bulldozer or some kind of cat while we're in town.
"We should try to find some essential oil or perfume for the handkerchiefs," Jenna says. "It would help combat the stink a little."
"How about some patchouli?"
Reed asks.
"I know a few shops where we can find that."
Everyone snickers. There's an ongoing joke in Arcata about the hippies who use patchouli oil instead of deodorant. I had been nervous that Jenna was one of them when I first met her. And though she doesn't shave her armpits, something I've come to overlook since getting to know her, she does use standard deodorant. She and Carter pedal beside one another in easy silence. I'm not sure what transpired between the 2 of them last night, but things are different now. The stiff resentment is gone, and they've even smiled at each other a few times. That, coupled with the fact I finally have this group of kids looking forward instead of at the Xbox console, has me in a good mood. We slow as we reach the end of the street and make the turn onto the road that hugs the outer perimeter of the main campus. This part of the college isn't in much better shape than our area. Bodies are everywhere, along with abandoned cars and military jeeps. A wrought iron fence stands between the road and the large sports field on the front end of campus. Dozens of undead mill around on the field. A few turn at the sound of our passage, but most are too far away to hear us. The world around me flips back and forth. Part of me sees the campus Carter called home the last 2 years, the white stucco buildings, the vast green lawn where students congregated to play soccer and football, the salty tang of the ocean air that's always in my nostrils, and the redwood trees rising up alongside the buildings. The rest of me sees the wreckage of the present, the burned buildings, the bodies, the death. Only the smell of the ocean is unchanged, but even that mingles with the stench of rotting corpses. We reach the edge of the campus. Humboldt State University sits apart from the rest of Arcata. Between us and the town is a wide freeway that sits below the street level, making it possible to look down on the abandoned road, where there are more cars, bodies, and zombies. An overpass spans the freeway, connecting the college to the town of Arcata. From where we stand, the town doesn't look all that different, if you ignore the burned-out buildings and the bodies. Even from here, I see bodies in the street. We pause at the edge of campus, all of us in a silent semicircle. There's no telling what we'll find in the streets of Arcata. Keep your weapons ready. I heft my screwdriver to emphasize the point. Make as little noise as possible. If something happens and we're separated, get back to Creekside. We exit the campus, weave through the cars clogging the overpass, and cross into downtown Arcata. "Slow down," I call as the sound of moaning reaches my ears. "I hear them." Everyone slows, the bikes falling into line behind me. I pull to a stop at the corner of a strip mall and look into the street beyond. 24 zombies mill around in the street. The closest is a good 10 yards from where we stand, giving us a decent amount of clearance. "We can get by them," I whisper-shout. "Just pedal fast." We zip across the street, pedaling hard for the next turn. Zombies rotate at the sound of our passage, their bodies moving in strange synchronicity. I lead the kids in a hard left turn, angling deeper into the town. Old houses spring up on either side of us, colorful bungalows left over from the logging era. They're a mixture of storefronts and small shops. I bite my lip as we turn onto another street, this one with more zombies in the middle of the road. I wish we were on foot. It would be easier to sneak through the town undetected. The soft whir of the bike pedals sound like gongs going off in these dead, quiet neighborhoods. I mentally trace the map of Arcata in my head. I know the streets well, having run through them many times over the past 2 years when I visited Carter. We can turn and backtrack to another street that leads to the central square where Trading Post is located, or we can push through this street. I count 10 zombies in front of us, less before us than behind. We pedal through them, I murmur, brandishing my screwdriver. Kill any that get too close. Stay together. I pick up speed, gripping the handlebar with one hand and the screwdriver in the other. Around and behind me are Carter and his friends, every one of them wielding their wooden spears. The first zombie half runs, half shuffles in my direction. His legs are partially decomposed, and he can't move too fast. Flies and maggots swarm his left thigh, leading me to believe that's where he was bitten. I aim my bike in his direction, jamming my screwdriver into his eye socket as I do. The bike keeps going, but the screwdriver gets stuck in the socket. I tip sideways, dragged down by the dead weight of the impaled body. My leg shoots out, catching me, and I manage to yank the screwdriver free without falling off. Johnny isn't so lucky. As his spear punches through the face of an oncoming zombie, the creature falls on him. The bike makes a loud rattle as it tips over, pinning Johnny's leg to the ground. I leap off my bike and race toward him. The zombie he stabbed is dead, but the body is draped across the bike with Johnny underneath. I reach for the body as 3 more zombies close in. Jenna wheels her bike around, planting herself between us and the oncoming zombies. Carter wheels up beside her, the two of them striking out with their spears. Reed rolls up behind us and faces off against a zombie of his own. I fling aside the dead body, freeing Johnny. He scrambles up, jumping back onto the bike. "Go!" I hiss. Jenna and Carter finish off their zombies and push hard against the bike pedals, breaking free of the melee. I race back to my bike, which is tipped over in a clump of bushes. Just as I grab it, a figure looms up from the other side of the greenery. He was homeless when he was alive, his skin sun-darkened and half his teeth missing. He growls at me, bunching his legs to spring. I don't give him a chance. Straddling my bike, I lunge across the bushes and bury my screwdriver in his forehead. I yank my weapon free, not waiting to see the body hit the ground before slamming down on the pedals. I race to catch up with the others, who keep glancing back in my direction to be sure I've made it. We race in a clump down the street. There are a few more zombies. We pick up speed and swerve around them. Reaching the next intersection, we slow long enough to scan every direction. We need to go left, toward the plaza, but that way is clogged with cars, zombies, and dead bodies. By the amount of shell casings shining on the ground, I'd say a shootout happened here. The ways forward and to the right aren't much better. "Which way?" Reed hisses. "Straight," I say. We pedal another few blocks, breaking up as we swerve around zombies. The moaning has increased in the streets around us. Somewhere nearby, several high-pitched keens rend the air. I look over my shoulder and see a large pack of the undead rounding the corner. We're making too much noise, drawing too much attention. "There's an alleyway half a mile up the street," I call, pitching my voice as loud as I dare. "On your left. Turn down that way." With any luck, the zombies will have a hard time figuring out how to follow us into the narrow opening. I zip around one of the undead, only to find myself in a near head-on collision with another. I grit my teeth and rise up on the bike pedals, giving myself leverage over the oncoming creature. I stab it through the eye. As it drops from the blow, I yank my screwdriver free. Two creatures converge on Jenna, each of them a silver-haired woman in a flowing skirt. Jenna spins to take out the nearest of them, her spear missing the old lady's head, and instead punching through her sternum. The impaled zombie claws her way toward Jenna, bloodied hands reaching. Carter drops his bike and sprints to her side, his face a mask of fear and determination. He grabs the impaled zombie by the hair and hauls her backward. He swings his spear like a bat, clubbing the old lady so hard her skull cracks. Jenna spins around to face the last of the old ladies. She's lost her spear, but her expression is fierce. She leaps free of the bike and shoves both hands against the zombie. As the creature topples backward, she pounces. One booted foot comes down on the old lady's face, smashing through bone. Bits of blood and bone fragments spray in every direction. "There's too many of them," Johnny wheezes, dispatching an undead with half a dozen facial piercings. He's right. Zombies flood the street from both directions, their eerie keening cutting the air. There's no way to break through them without getting killed. "Into that house!" I charge up the steps of a pink bungalow. I raise my screwdriver, ready to shatter the window if need be, but the door swings open under my hand. "Inside!" I hold it open as the others rush past me. A zombie scrambles up the steps, hard on the heels of Reed. I slam the door in its face.